Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, October 12, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And we can see that as of their latest update that just came out at 7:33 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:33 p.m. Jamaica time. So that was about almost 10 minutes ago. We can see that we still have that area highlighted right there to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands. Yesterday it was a code orange that had a medium chance of development within the next 7 days. Now it's back to a code yellow, and we're going to be reading exactly what it is basically going to be doing in general. So according to the Hurricane Center, as of their latest update, they've stated showers and thunderstorms associated with an area of low pressure located a few hundred miles west of the Cabo Verde Islands have diminished during the past 24 hours. The low is moving into an environment that is less conducive for development, and therefore the chance of tropical cyclone formation appears to be decreasing. This system is forecast to move westward or west-southwestward across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic through much of next week. And we see that they've given this system a 20% chance of cyclone formation within the next 2 days as well as within the next 7 days. And that's the key thing to highlight from this. It's not going to be moving directly east to west like what most of them usually do. It's going to be moving a bit more south of due west. So it might put some of the Caribbean islands into play with whatever comes off this system. And if we take a look at the very latest infrared satellite image of the system, we can definitely see what the Hurricane Center is talking about. Most of the area of low pressure regarding the system spinning off towards the west of the system. Most of the thunderstorms trying to get wrapped around the center of circulation, but being sheared off. We see there's a lot of upper level wind shear tearing the tops of the thunderstorms off, pushing everything off towards the south for the most part. We'll see how this goes to see if it actually regains strength as it pushes towards the Caribbean. As of right now, the GEFS, that's the Global Ensemble Forecast Systems from the GFS, is forecasting that exact motion that the Hurricane Center highlighted, westward then south of west, so a west-southwestward movement as it pushes towards the Caribbean. Then who knows, possibly affecting portions of the Leeward Islands. We have to pay close attention to see what happens. This is the EPS, the same Euro model in general, something similar to what the GFS is showing at first with the westward motion, then the west-southwestward motion. But we see that most of the models try to take the system out of here, not really affecting much of the Caribbean islands. Some do take it into portions of the Caribbean. Some go as far as taking it across Hispaniola, passing to the north of Jamaica. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that as time goes on. Regarding the intensity of the system, we see that it should remain a tropical wave. Then maybe later on, by around, let's say, the next 96 hours, 108 hours, a good almost 5 days out, we start to see some of these supercomputer models forecasting an increase in strength. We know the greens represent tropical storm force winds anywhere from 35 knots to 65 knots. The yellows represent hurricane status. The orange represents category 2. We see some of the models making it as far as hurricane status by the end of the next 7 days. We'll see exactly what unfolds as time goes on. As it relates to what the Euro model and the GFS model are showing regarding this system, let us see exactly what they're showing, basically something similar like what the spaghetti models have been showing. We're just going to be looking at the timestamp right here, going out to the next 168 hours, just like what the Hurricane Center would do. And we're going to be focusing our attention on the system right here. We can see the isobars around it, the moisture, the greens, the yellows, and the L that represents the area of low pressure. So starting with the Euro first, by the way, just for reference, we have Hispaniola right here. To the west of Hispaniola, we have Jamaica. We have Puerto Rico right here. And the Leeward and the Windward Islands all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago right there. So let us see exactly what unfolds. So as we continue to go out throughout the next 7 days, we see the system making that south or west-southwestward jog. We see the moisture, we see the isobars, we see it right here to the east of the Caribbean. This is valid for 6D on Thursday, October 17, which is actually 1 a.m. on Thursday. As we continue to go out in time, we see that it starts to make more of a turn, just like what the Euro ensemble maps have been showing. Definitely not wanting to make it into the Caribbean. And then by the end of 268 hours, we start to see it strengthening. And the thing is, this is the part of the world that we usually expect things to strengthen at this time of year. It's October. We usually shut down the Atlantic in general. Too much wind shear. It's usually this side of the world that we have more activity in general. We'll see exactly what unfolds as time goes on. Either way, by the end of 268 hours, we see that there is something trying to form right there to the north of Puerto Rico. We see all the isobars, we see the greens, the yellows that represent some amount of moderate to heavy rainfall. We see the airflow pressure that represents the center of circulation. That's to the north of Puerto Rico. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Let's see what the GFS model is showing as we go to the next 168 hours. So we see taking that west-southwestward jog for sure. There it is, due east of the Caribbean. As we continue to go out in time, we see the moisture right there into portions of the Leeward Islands, the Northern Windward Islands as well. Then as we continue, we don't even see the isobars anymore. We don't even see the airflow pressure. What we see is just moisture, which could indicate that it's just going to be a tropical wave, nothing big in general. We see some of the heaviest moisture associated with it to the north of the Dominican Republic right there. Then as we go to the end of 268 hours, that's basically it. We don't see much of anything. Either way, we know the next name on the list is Nadine. We're all over and done with Milton. We're done with Leslie. Now we'll see if we'll actually get these other names that are left on the list. Nadine all the way through to William. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully it's just a case where we get more troughs, more tropical waves to bring rainfall, to cool down the temperatures, to keep water in our pipes. Either way, if anything develops, I'll be here to keep you posted on what happens. If we take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that we have a tropical wave right here to the east of Jamaica. We see another tropical wave right here to the east of the Leeward and Windward Islands. And we see the tropical wave that the Hurricane Center is watching right there to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands. We see the frontal system that has now absorbed Milton as well as Leslie right there. And we see that it even induced a trough to the north of the Eastern Caribbean. We see another trough right here stretching all the way from Florida into portions of Cuba and the Northwestern Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. The clouds associated with the trough that's affecting portions of Cuba, the Western Caribbean, Florida, the Bahamas. The clouds associated with the the frontal system, as well as the trough that's induced to the north of the Caribbean. Right there, we can also see the clouds spinning away associated with that tropical wave that wants to develop but's having some challenges right now. That wind shear blowing all of the activity off towards the south and the east. And we can see the clouds associated with the other tropical wave right here to the east of the Windward Islands, as well as the clouds associated with the other tropical wave right here to the southeast of Jamaica. We see that most of the moisture is already passing to the south of Jamaica, heading into portions of Central America. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean today later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, October 12, 2024. It was stated that parts of some eastern, central and western parishes would have received some afternoon rainfall on Saturday, and it was also forecast to affect northern Jamaica especially as well. And just for reference, we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, and we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. And we know northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And what ended up happening? As a matter of fact, we got in on that rainfall sooner than later. The late morning hours brought that rainfall to eastern Jamaica. We didn't get it much during the afternoon, but definitely in the late morning, because this post was made here on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. By the way, keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page, but they're also made on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we saw the infrared satellite image that was posted at around 11:05 a.m. in the late morning, and we had some clouds bring some isolated thunderstorms. We definitely had the sparkling white dots at numerous points, affecting sections of Portland and St. Thomas this morning for sure, bringing overcast skies as well. And then as the afternoon progressed, we got into 2:35 p.m. as the visible satellite image was posted highlighting some clouds, bringing some isolated thunderstorms. And we know the sparkling yellow dots represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we saw that especially across northern St. Catherine, sections of northern St. Elizabeth, southern St. James. And we definitely had most of the clouds across northern Jamaica as well. Just to confirm yesterday's prediction that it was for central and western Jamaica and especially northern Jamaica, because we definitely had some isolated shores across sections of St. Anne, Trelawney, and St. James as well. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can make out everything. Look at the clouds building across central and western Jamaica, especially northern Jamaica, and look at the high cold clouds being sheared off to the west, just as predicted. We can see it all even better on the infrared satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down. I mean, look at the deep convection that lashed portions of Westmoreland before the day was all said and done. Look at the sparkling white dots. Look at that. That is just ridiculous. They definitely got in on some strong thunderstorms right there. We saw the sparkling white dots. We even got in on some of that across sections of St. James before all was said and done as well. So that indeed confirms the rainfall for portions of eastern, central, and western Jamaica. But we remember eastern Jamaica got their rainfall in the late morning hours rather than in the afternoon hours. And if we take a look at the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, this was brought back a bit to about 2:34 p.m. showing the Barbican Square, and we definitely had sunny conditions right there. People walking, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Definitely not much in the way of bad weather being experienced across Barbican today at that time. By the way, keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, you can visit See Jamaica. If you don't know by now, we have a partnership with that channel. They show live streams of Halfway Tree, Crossroads, the Kingston Harbor, the Panoramic City View, and even Flat Bridge. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out, because they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the country. If we take a look at the accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, from the CIMH, that's the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint a picture of where we had the rainfall across sections of St. Thomas and Portland, more so in the morning, the late morning. Then we had that rainfall across central and western Jamaica, more so northern and western Jamaica during the afternoon. Definitely section of Northern St. Andrew, Northern St. Catherine, section of St. Anne, section of Northern Clarendon, Southern Trelawney, section of St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland definitely got in on that thunderstorm activity for sure. And if we take a look at the very latest infrared satellite image, let's reload these so that we have the very latest. And the very latest infrared satellite image just came out at 45 minutes past the hour. 23:45 UTC is the same as 6:45 p.m. Jamaica time. So this one just came out 11 minutes ago. And we can see we do have some dots of clouds right there to the southeast of the island, south of St. Thomas, right there. Let's see if we can see that on the Doppler radar images. We see some rainfall affecting portions of St. James, if not Hanover as well. And look at this blob of thunderstorms to the west of the island. Those blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds that represent some thunderstorm activity. Not to mention the sparkling white dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, right there to the west of the island, as well as across portions of St. James as we speak. So let's reload these cube and Doppler radar images so that we have the very latest. And the very latest image just came out at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:50 p.m. Jamaica time. So this image just came out at 6:50 p.m., the latest one. And we can already make out the rainfall that we just saw on the infrared. So who knows, maybe some rainfall for portion of St. Thomas tonight. I live in St. Thomas. Hopefully I get a cool down. Hopefully. You can see the greens, you can see the yellows pushing in from east to west. Let us see if we get some of that coming in, maybe even spilling into portions of St. Catherine. We can also make out the rainfall that we just mentioned to the west of the island. The greens, the yellows represent some moderate to heavy rainfall, as we can see by the key on the right. And we can also make out that rainfall that portion of St. James and Hanover are getting in on as we speak, just like what we saw on the infrared satellite image right here. This is how we love to match the infrared to the satellite images, because we know that we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. So the Doppler radar images are here. They are quite a very good tool that we can use to see where the rainfall is actually located. And we're so grateful that there's a cube and Doppler radar right here in Pelon that's showing much of Jamaica. If we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar Station, we can see some rainfall across southeastern Cuba, some light rainfall across portions of Haiti. Not seeing much of Jamaica at all, unfortunately. If we take a look at the Cayman radar, we can see some rainfall to the south of Grand Cayman, as well as across sections of the waters to the west of Jamaica right there, as well as that rainfall across sections of St. James and Hanover. If we take a look at the very latest live camera from Crossroads, we see that at 6:59 p.m., that's the time right now. Not much in the way of bad weather. Temperatures should be starting to cool down, and definitely gonna be a fair night right now. Let's see if some of that rainfall that's about to affect sections of St. Thomas gets as far as Kingston and St. Andrew. Don't get upset if you don't get that rainfall, but we can see people walking, going about their business on this Saturday evening. Vehicles going about their business, as well as the weather is fair at this time. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can say about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see this map from the GFS showing 18 on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors that we know represent up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of October across Jamaica are about the same as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When calculated, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 31.6 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. So we must always try our very best to beat the heat. If you're going out tomorrow, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Stay indoors and make use of the fans and the AC. And keep hydrated. Drink lots of water. Can't go wrong with the water. Stay away from the sugary drinks. I cannot stress that enough. Our body is made up of more water in general. So just replenish the body. Even if you're not thirsty, stay hydrated as much as possible. If we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we can see Jamaica right here in the clear. We see some slight brown colors right here to the west of Jamaica. Just to show that we got in on some Saharan dust today, but we didn't even see it because this is just a, well, not so vigorous plume of dust that is stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. We see the eastern Caribbean getting on some of that Saharan dust. We can also make out curling to the Saharan dust right here to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands, associated with that tropical wave that's trying to get its act together but struggling at this time. Definitely ingesting some of that dry air, so it's contending with the dry air and it's contending with the wind shear, pushing all the thunderstorms off towards the south. Either way, this is not much of a vigorous plume. You know, the vigorous plume is represented by the darker browns that we know can cause the very hazy skies or trigger some amount of asthma or sinusitis issues in some persons. And we're indeed grateful that the more it moves westward, the more it dwindles. We can see it dwindling right here across the central to the western Caribbean where Jamaica is located, and we're indeed grateful for that. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that from the Gulf of Mexico into the western Caribbean, we're getting in on more of those lighter shades of blues, while from the central to the eastern Caribbean, more darker shades of blues. And we know that is all represented by, well, it represents the 0.5 all the way up to 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds across the Gulf of Mexico into the western Caribbean should be averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 knots. From the central to the eastern Caribbean, anywhere from 15 to 20 knots, maybe even up to 25 knots, where we see these yellows right there off the coast of northern Colombia, northwestern Venezuela, and we see the ABC islands right there getting in on some of those strong winds. And we see that the flow should be from the east. That's what we're used to. We see a nice formidable ridge of high pressure. That's a Bermuda high right there, sending everything from east to west. And if we take a closer look at Jamaica in terms of the winds tomorrow, look at this. We see that the wind should be coming in from the east. We see the bright green, so definitely 15 to 20 knot winds. We're indeed grateful for that. Should cool down the temperatures a bit. We see the winds on the north coast, and look at where we see the air piling up. Look at where we have the least amount of winds, right there across northern and western Jamaica. So we know what's gonna be happening up there. The low level flow is going to be causing the low level clouds to become mid level rain clouds, if not upper level cumulonimbus clouds. So it's definitely going to be rainy in the afternoon. We have that daytime heating across northern and western parishes. I know that northern parishes, again, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mirror, Portland. And western parishes, you know, we're talking about Trelawney, St. James, Hanover. We know Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, but more than likely it's going to be northern St. Elizabeth and portions of especially northern Westmoreland. We'll see how that goes. And with the upper level winds still coming in tomorrow, more so from the southeast, any high cold cloud that's being blown off definitely going to be sheared off towards the northwest, bringing more of that rainfall to sections of some northwestern parishes, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney for sure. If we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing the rainfall that's expected at around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time. We see the consensus for rainfall as represented by the blues, especially across the waters to the north of the island. We see that on both the Euro and the GFS. And we can also see that rainfall coming into portions of eastern Jamaica, so section of St. Thomas, Portland for sure. We see the Euro trying to incorporate portion of southern Jamaica, but we don't see that on the GFS. We see differences, we see contrast. And we're working with agreement, we're working with what we see on both maps. And we definitely see the rainfall for northern Jamaica as well as eastern Jamaica for that time, 7 a.m. As we skip to about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we start to see the rainfall that's expected for northern and western parishes. We see it on the Euro. Euro trying to incorporate eastern Jamaica still. GFS not so much with eastern Jamaica, but definitely northern and western Jamaica for sure. Those very spots that we mentioned, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, section of northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, even portion of northern Clarendon and northern St. Catherine can get into the mix as well. And we see that both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that it's going to be raining somewhere across Jamaica within the next 24 hours. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Monday when calculated. That's all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but within the next 24 hours, these are the spots that are going to be picking up the way in, well, the most in the way for rainfall. So we see the Euro right here showing some rainfall for eastern Jamaica, so too the GFS. GFS showing less rainfall with the greens that we can see by the key on the right. That represents all the way up to 0.1 all the way up to 0.25 for an inch of rainfall. Euro a bit more robust with the yellows, the oranges, even the reds offshore. That represents 0.4 all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall out to sea. And we see the consensus for northern and western Jamaica for sure. We see the most colors up there. 0.39, 0.4 for an inch of rainfall, 0.39 right there across the west. On the Euro GFS, all the way up to 0.51 of an inch of rainfall across the north and the west as well. So look out for that rainfall if you're in the northern and western portion of the island for the afternoon. And we're indeed grateful that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. We're in the month of October. During October, we usually receive the most rainfall in the entire island. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive 170 millimeters of rainfall. That's around 7 inches of rainfall. In Montego Bay, we usually receive 8.5 inches of rainfall. That's about 212 millimeters of rainfall if I'm not mistaken. And if you'd like to know what your specific parish receives throughout the year in terms of rainfall, you can visit this website right here. That's weatherandclimate.com. And you can use this nice little graphic right here that converts the rainfall that we measure on the rain gauge from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. So you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some clouds right here coming into portions of the Windward Islands associated with a tropical wave. We can also see some clouds right here across the Western Caribbean coming into portions of Central America. Some clouds associated with the trough that has been affecting portions of the Turks and Caicos, section of the Bahamas with the other trough into Florida as well as Cuba. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, if these images will load for me, it doesn't seem like it wants to load. Alright, here we go. So we're just going to be looking at the northeastern Caribbean. As of right now, we do see some rainfall, some greens that represent some light to moderate rainfall in and around Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda, all of this to the east of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Martin. Not seeing much taking place across the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US or British Virgin Islands right now. But if we load these images from earlier today, starting at 1:15 p.m., we saw that we did have a speck of rainfall right there across western Puerto Rico, some rainfall across the US Virgin Islands today, and we see that most of the rainfall was definitely affecting portion of the Leeward Islands for sure. Look at those dark greens and yellows that represent a moderate to slightly heavier rainfall too. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that rainfall coming in from the east associated with the moisture from that tropical wave. Some of this rainfall has been affecting portions of Barbados already, with more to come from the east. We can see that rainfall affecting portions of Martinique, St. Lucia, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, sections of Trinidad and Tobago getting in on the mix as well. And if we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall associated with the trough across portions of Florida, the Bahamas, sections of Cuba, sections of the Belize area, coastal areas of Honduras, eastern Nicaragua associated with a tropical wave, and even sections of Colombia. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Monday when calculated. That's about from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the spots that are going to be picking up rainfall within the next 24 hours. Could be isolated, could be heavier than that. We see the greens, the yellows, the oranges that represent all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall, and the red. And we definitely have some rainfall in store for portions of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Puerto Rico, so too, section of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados. If they're not already getting that rainfall right now, they're going to get some more within the next 24 hours. Section of Trinidad and Tobago 2. Scrolling down, we can make out some rainfall for a portion of Guyana. Not so much for Suriname or French Guyana, but definitely a section of Venezuela. Sections of the ABC Islands, it seems. And we can also see some rainfall in store for portions of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and even coastal areas of the eastern Yucatan Peninsula right there. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. And we know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.